Hey YouTube, it is I, Zach Mander, your coach of the Canadian Syrologists, and guys, we have joined another draft league! This time we are joining the MDL, which is a low-tier league. So, what does that mean? Well, it means basically, strong Pokemon like Dragapult, Darkrai, Iron Val are all banned. The best Pokemon in this league are Pokemon like Raikou, Suicune, Porygon Z, Ceruledge, and many, many more. So, this Pokemon allows underappreciated Pokemon to shine. So, what did I draft? So, instead of a point system, this draft league uses a tier system. So, there are 5 tiers. You can pick 1 tier 1, 2 tier 2s, 3 tier 3s, 3 tier 4s, and 2 tier 5s. And only the tier 5s can Terra. So, let's talk about the team that I drafted. So, I'm going to talk about the team in order of what tiering there are. So, I'm going to start from tier 1 and end with my Terra captains. This is not exactly the order I picked them, and I did make trades. So, my draft team is going to be. Well, no. Well, it's not going to be exactly in order, so these picks may not like align at first, but then it'll start to make sense. So, my first Pokemon, guys. So, you guys know I've been wanting to get that mascot. And originally, I didn't draft this thing. I had to trade for it. So, and I'll tell you, I'm so excited to use this mon. We got Ceruledge. We got the coach. We got the goat. We got the mascot, baby. Yeah, we got the coach. We got Coach Ceruledge here. So, this mon gets 2 great abilities in Flash Fire and Weak Armor. Also gets a really good move pool, especially Bitter Blade being one of the best signature moves in the game, in my opinion. It gets Dragon Claw, Night Slash, Iron Head. It gets lots of coverage. It also gets CC, which is really nice coverage. This mon also gets Swords Dance and Bulk Up to increase its attack. I wish this Pokemon got Hone Claws. I don't think it does. Yeah, if it got Hone Claws, it would be super cool. Because then you could run it with Poltergeist, and the Poltergeist accuracy would not be a problem. And I did not really like. I don't like really running physical ghost types because of the Poltergeist mischance. But for 110 base power, that isn't bad. So, yeah, that's my pick. I'm gonna be cooking with my mascot this time. And I'm so excited. I think in higher tier leagues, Ceruledge is good. But I think in low tier, this mon is even better. And this Pokemon gets to really shine. So my next Pokemon, this was actually the first Pokemon I picked. And this Pokemon used to be a tier 1 in the P4G, the league that this MDL was, well, inspired by. So, I picked up Venusaur. I can't spell. We got Venusaur. Has pretty great stats, honestly, with good special attack, good speed def, pretty good HP. So this mon could be a special tank. This Pokemon also gets Overgrow, which is an R8 ability, but Chlorophyll is where we rock. Now, in this league, the weather setters are all tier 1s in Politoed and Ninetales, so they give you the weaker weather setters. And if you noticed, I didn't pick Ninetales. I picked Ceruledge instead. But I'll talk about, well, the weather setter that I'll pick later. So this Pokemon gets a pretty decent move pool with things like Knock Off, Earth Power, and Weather Ball. And it gets good moves in Swords Dance to set up, and Growth as well. If I'm in the sun, then Growth will be insane. This Pokemon also gets Sleep Powder, which is always nice. You know, you always love to see Sleep Powder. And Worry Seed, you know, it could be some fun tech. So my next pick here, this was actually my next pick. So I picked my tier 2s first. My next Pokemon I picked was Tornadus. Now this Pokemon, in my opinion, is super good for a tier 2. I think this is one of the best tier 2s out of all the options that you could pick. This Pokemon is fast and strong on both sides. So I could run a physical set or a special set. So I could really try to throw up my opponent with whatever torn set I run. This Pokemon also gets Prankster, so I could set up weather. I could set up both the rain, sun, snow, and sand. So I could pretty much use any weather condition I want and put in some work. I feel like with Torn here, I can really do some fun things. Alright, well, my next Pokemon that I picked was Espathra. I see that the keyboard already knows. The keyboard already knows I got Espathra next. Now, this Pokemon was not in the P4G before, and I think this Pokemon is really strong. Without Speed Boost, it may not be as good, but I think Opportunist and Frisk are super good abilities for draft, and Lumina Crash is just insane. Why do I keep clicking that? But Lumina Crash is an insane move, being able to lower the target's speed def by 2. I could just imagine a set where I just spam Lumina and just get kills. Also, the fact that it gets dual screens and has a 105 base speed makes it strong. How does this suggest a physical sweeper? I have one move. Ah, showdown. Stop. Oh my god. This thing also gets recovery with Roost, so it can be a good Pokemon to use as a kind of a defensive Pokemon, and with Lumina Crash, I can threaten things out. This thing also gets Calm Mind. I know it's infamous for its stored power sets, but obviously with Speed Boost, it's not going to be as good. I feel like Lumina Crash is always the move you want to run. And the cool thing about this mod is it also gets Trick and U-Turn, so I can pivot. My next Pokemon that I picked, my next tier 3, it was a Pokemon I was rambling on about in the ZD. I was like, man, I want this mon, I want this mon, I want this mon. Well, I got Pheasantipity. Woo! Pheasantipity! Yes. It is time for Pheasantipity time. We got the GOAT himself. Now, this mon is very specially bulky, so I could see a good specially bulky Calm Mind or a Nasty Plot set to go stupid, but also this thing gets Sword Stance. So, I could set up on both sides with this mon and do some work. This mon's great defensively, and it could be used as an offensive threat. It gets Tailwind as well, so I don't need to worry about speed on my team. And if I didn't want to run Sun, I could run Tailwind on this or Torn and just run a Swords Dance Venusaur or even a defensive Venusaur because Venusaur has good special bulk. And this is also crucial because it is a Fairy type and a Grounded Poison in one, so it really fills up roles on my team that I really need. My next Pokemon that I got here is Pawmont. This is my next pick. I needed an electric and I needed a fighting type, and this Pokemon just screamed to me. This Pokemon just was perfect. This Pokemon has a cool Sig move in Double Shock, so I hope I get to use it this season. But it also got some super good moves in Encore, Wish, Nuzzle, and the Elemental Punches, to name a few. Bulk Up is really nice for buffing stats. Agility could be useful. Unfortunately, you can't pass stats, but hey, agility works, right? And also, of course, it gets weather. I mean, like all the Pokemon get weather, and it also gets entrainment. I actually forgot. I did not know I got this move. So I could theoretically get rid of an ability put a Volt Absorb or preferably Natural Cure or Iron Fist would make more sense. Because well, Iron Fist is only useful on certain Pokemon, so I feel like that would be the best ability to use entrainment with. But I feel like that'd be a fun strategy. So we'll see. Now, let's go to the next tab. So now those are my tier 1s, my tier 2s, and my tier 3s. Well, now let's talk about my tier 4s and onwards. The next tier 4 that I picked was Mastiff. Yeah, the staking out dog. Now this Pokemon, 120 base attack with stake out. This ability doubles the attack stat. So this is basically like huge power, but it only works against a target who switches out. So that means that if I gotta crunch it, if my opponent switches, I can crunch him in the face. This Pokemon also gets Hone Claws, so it'll help play rough accuracy, and it's just a decent setup move. It's not bad. Jaw Lock could be cool, but obviously with Stakeout, I probably wouldn't want to trap anything because I would want my opponent to switch out. Now, I'm kind of made a Sun team, so I needed to get another Pokemon that could kind of abuse the Sun. And there were a lot of Sun Sweepers that were actually pretty good. There was, to name a few, there were Victory Bell, Vileplume, Blossom, Shiftry, and those are like the main 4 that stood out to me. But I picked Shiftry. And the reason I picked Shiftry, well, first of all, it does resist ground, unlike the other ones that I've listed. Well, Blossom does too, but Shiftry does have this dark typing, and I think the dark typing is really nice. This Pokemon also gets Defog, because I didn't have any hazard removal on my team at the time, so I wanted a Defogger. It'd be nice, especially if I have a Rapid Spinner and they have a Ghost type that could easily counteract the Spinner, then it's just better to have a Defogger in case. This Pokemon also gets Windrider, which is super cool. So if I'm running a Tailwind team, this Pokemon benefits from it too. This Pokemon also gets the super good setup moves in Nasty Plot and Swords Dance, so I can run this Pokemon really any way I want. Also, this thing gets growth. But honestly, if I'm running only one way, there's no point in running growth when I can just run Nasty Plot or Swords Dance. And this Pokemon gets Solar Blade and Solar Beam, so I could really pick both sides. Also, this Pokemon gets T-Spikes. I didn't have a T-Spiker at the time, so this is something I really needed. Now, the next Pokemon. I wanted a Rapid Spinner, and I also really wanted a Water type. And this was quite late in the draft. And I actually traded for this Pokemon. I didn't have a Water type on my team at the time, but then I did some trades, made some drops, and I figured that all out. So the next Pokemon I got was Tatsugiri. And let's change it to the yellow color. 'Cause I like the yellow. I like Tatsugiri Stretchy. I like the yellow one. The yellow one is cute. But this Pokemon gets Rapid Spin. That's the main reason I got this Pokemon. But also, it has a 120 base attack, special attack, which is super nice. And with Draco, this thing can do damage. And it's a good water immunity. I mean, it already quad resists water, but I could switch in with Ledge, Sarah Ledge. This Pokemon goes really well with it, as it can take the water hits and make itself more powerful. Commander is useless, so I'll always be running Storm Drain unless I want water moves to hit this for some reason. Maybe if I want a flip turn pivot or something to hit me. But then you wouldn't do that anyway, so I don't know. This Pokemon also gets Dragon Dance, which I find weird because this thing literally gets no. Okay, let's look at its physical move pool here. It gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 physical moves. 6 and counter. Like, what is this move pool? It's such a weird move pool. But it's cool. It does get Memento, and Lunge is an interesting physical move. This is pretty nice. Very nice on a more defensive set. Alright, well, now we are going in the Terra Captains. And I may have lied about saying I didn't have a water type, because one of my first Terra Captain was a water type. I picked this decently early in the draft, because I thought this would be one of the more popular Terra Captains, and that is Veluza! Now, I have a personal story with this Pokemon that when I was playing through Violet for the first time, I wanted to get a water type. I really wanted Paldea Tauros. Couldn't find it. I couldn't get the water one. So I settled on this because I thought using Palafin would make the game too easy. And I was like a Palafin hater. So I had to pick Veluza. And Flayaway is such a cool Sig move. And I think I can really do some work, especially since it's in Terra. Now, the 3 Terra types I picked were Water, Dragon, and Fairy. I was originally going to go with Psychic, but I find having a type that can make me a bit more defensive and especially resist super effective moves could be super useful. This Pokemon gets a pretty cool move pool. It gets Scale Shot. It also gets Recover, which I never knew until I watched a Draft League battle and someone used Veluza with Recover, and I was shook. I was shocked. This thing does not have a bad HP. It's not super bulky, and its speed is kind of weak, but with Flayaway, I mean, it's +2 speed. It'll be faster than most things on the field. I mean, like, besides, like, Regieleki and maybe, like, Electrode are the only things, but then I have the Terra Dragon for that reason. So, it's not the worst thing in the world. And Sharpness is also a strong ability, so this 102 attack is actually pretty good for a Sharpness Pokemon. Like, Hisuian Samurott was already really strong, and I think that has a worse attack, I would want to say. Okay, it has, like, a bit better. And that Pokemon is really strong. And that's, like, not even allowed in this league, and that's, like, a way higher point Pokemon. So, my last Terra Captain. Now, this was before I got Tatsugiri, so I needed a Rapid Spinner. But I also wanted a physical tank, because I had so much Pokemon with good SpDef, and not really any physically tanky Pokemon besides, like, Mabust and Intimidate. And so I picked up Hisuian Avalugg. Now, I could have picked the regular Avalugg, but honestly, I prefer this Avalugg form. The fact it's 10 base points faster means that I'm faster than the super slows of Hatterene, Slowbro, Slowking, and stuff like that. And they will probably have to. I don't think they have to lower IVs on their speed to be slower than me. Like, I know Slowking may want to pivot, but this Pokemon is strong and super bulky. I feel like this Pokemon can play a couple different roles, being a bulky physical attacker and just being an all-around support Pokemon. Getting Mountain Gale is a cool Sig move that the regular Avalugg doesn't. This also gets Stealth Rocks, which regular Avalugg doesn't either, while it still gets Spin, Recover, and all the moves that regular Avalugg would get, but along with some Rock moves, just to add on. It does get Body Press, and it does get Iron Defense. So yeah, it's basically like a regular Avalugg. This thing also gets Aurora Veil. So with Torn, I could run a Snowscape team and set up Veil with this. So, I mean, I could brew something. Hey, if there's a week, I need to bring a snow team, hey. And who knows? Maybe I'll make some changes. Maybe I'll see what I can grab on the board and maybe make this note to a reality. Who knows? But guys, that is it for my draft analysis for the MDL, the Meloetta Draft League. I'm so excited. Also, shout outs to my boy Nick for making this draft league. I will put his channel in the link below. In the link below, in the description below. Man, I need to get a script. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the draft analysis. I'm so excited for week 1. I can't wait to try low tier and see how I do. So guys, see you all for week 1.